Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered, and they did it again. You know, we talked about it. We were all under the impression, like, guys, is they're gonna keep trying this until they are successful. And I shared that opinion. I still, can't wrap my brain around this. They tried to kill Donald Trump again. And we still have so many unanswered questions from the last one, okay? I think it's very clear to anyone that's paying attention. The last one was pretty peculiar. All of these strange circumstances, all of these weird misses by the Secret Service and DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. All of these, the guy was at a position that just happened to be in the blind spot of the counter sniper. Wow, how did he know where that was? So if you thought that the last time they tried to kill Trump had a little bit of peculiarities, just wait. There's more. All right. So Donald Trump, for those of you who have not yet heard the details, I'm sure you have, but let's go through them and let's look at the strange circumstances surrounding this one. He was playing a private round of golf at his golf club in West Palm Beach yesterday. Now, pay attention to that part. Okay. That part actually is very important. A private round of golf. Because the public had absolutely no knowledge that he would be there that day. It was not on a public schedule. It's not like it was a rally and publicized. There were only a small handful of people who would or should have known that Donald Trump would be there that day. Okay? And so while Donald Trump was at the fifth hole, Secret Service noticed the barrel of a rifle sticking out of the bushes at the sixth hole. This was, 300 to 500 yards away from where Donald Trump was. The barrel of the gun was pointed at him. So Secret Service engaged. They fired off shots, at which point the suspect fled the scene in a black Nissan. Now, when he did that, apparently he left behind a GoPro camera, an AK-47, a backpack, and bulletproof ceramic layered body armor before he was involved in a pretty short drive. I believe law enforcement found him within 40 miles from the golf course, at which point he was arrested. Here's some of that.
Keep walking! Keep that long.
So what do we know about this evil bastard? Well, Ryan Wesley Routh, a 58-year-old white guy with a rap sheet that includes possession of a weapon of mass destruction, which apparently happened after a 3-hour standoff with police in 2002, where he had a fully automatic machine gun and explosive devices. That's not all, though. North Carolina court records show that more than 100 criminal counts have been filed against him, including conviction of carrying a concealed weapon, possession of stolen property, and hit and run. Now, in those cases, which included misdemeanor convictions for violations like resisting an officer, driving on a suspended license, sounds like a great guy. He received a suspended sentence and parole or probation. Now, as I mentioned, he has quite a rap sheet in North Carolina. He recently relocated to Hawaii. And here's what else we know about him. He has made at least 19 donations to Act Blue, of course, the Democrat fundraising site. He also, as police raided his home, there's a little picture that shows an interesting detail there. He had a Biden-Harris bumper sticker on the back of his pickup truck. He posted on social media, by the way, telling Joe Biden that the old line, democracy is on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot. He says, at POTUS, your campaign should be called something like KADAF, Keep America Democratic and Free. Trump should be MASA, Make Americans Slaves Again, Master. Democracy is on the ballot and we cannot lose. We cannot afford to fail. The world is counting on us to show the way. Democracy is on the ballot. Where have I heard that before? Oh, like literally every single Democrat lawmaker, Kamala, Joe, Nancy, Chuck, all down the line. Hakeem, my girl Jasmine Crockett. Okay, so it's pretty obvious where he stands politically, who he pals around with, and what he could have possibly been listening to that would have radicalized him. Now, despite that, the left is very desperate to not take responsibility for another one of these, okay? They keep citing, you'll keep seeing them, if you guys are on social media, you will keep seeing them cite this one single solitary social media post that this psycho made in which he said that he voted for Trump. He says this to Donald Trump, while you were my choice in 2106, of course, he meant 2016, so he's a dumbass to boot. He says, I and the world hope that President Trump would be different and better than the candidate, but we were all greatly disappointed. This guy cannot write worth a shit. And it seems you are getting worse and devolving. Are you retarded? I will be glad when you gone. Yeah. Wow, that sounds like a staunch conservative to me. Wow, you guys are right. He is totally a Republican. I don't know. Let's look into that. So the guy was apparently obsessed with Ukraine's war and defeating Putin. And in fact, he was so obsessed with this that he wrote a book that maybe as many as one or two whole people bought on Amazon called The Unwinnable War. This was about Ukraine. And in it, I want to read to you what he says about Donald Trump while talking about Iran. He said, I want to be there in the streets with the Iranians with banners and posters and screaming for justice. I would also like to celebrate the amazing work of John Kerry that very humbly and humanly handled the Iran deal, which elated me and the whole of the world. I must take part of the blame for the retarded child that we elected for our next president that ended up being brainless. Now, you may think that he was talking about Joe Biden, but he's not. I'll tell you why I know that. But I am man enough to say that I misjudged and made a terrible mistake. And Iran, I apologize. You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment and the dismantling of the deal. Yeah. Again, sounds like a real true conservative, guys. No, it definitely wasn't a Democrat there with a Biden-Harris bumper sticker and all of those Act Blue donations. He voted for Donald Trump one time in 2016 and regrets it ever since. He must be a conservative Republican. Shut the up. It's not even done. It gets even weirder. Like they aren't even trying to hide what they're doing. They aren't even trying to pretend like this isn't some sort of a weird connection to the deep state. Okay, because do you remember the first would-be assassin, Thomas Crooks, that we talked about how he was, oh my gosh, coincidentally, he was featured previously in this globalist BlackRock commercial. And by the way, he coincidentally practiced at the shooting range where local and federal law enforcement frequent. Well, they're there all the time. They're passing each other in the day and the night. Oh my gosh, that's so weird. Well, wouldn't you know, this new guy, Ryan Routh, has his own curious ties as well. So he traveled all the way to Ukraine. I told you he's obsessed with Ukraine. He actually traveled to Ukraine as an American volunteer. Yes, he went there to fight. Things went a little wrong, but he was a self-appointed director of a group he started called the International Volunteer Center, in which he tried to bring in foreign troops in support of the Ukrainian forces. Now, here's a little bit of him explaining this. Watch.
Good morning. Most wonder what I'm doing in Ukraine. This is about a center to help people when they come from other countries around the world have a location, someone to talk to as a greeting committee to get them in the location that they need to be. So that's the whole focus of this project, is to help foreigners be as useful as possible. So that's our mission and job here, to get everybody where they need to be to maximize their potential.
So he actually had Newsweek did this big interview with him. And I believe we have it. I left it out of this control room. Do we have Routh wants fighting in Ukraine? Because he went there and he's like, I wanted to fight. And I'm like 58 years old. And it turns out that I'm too old to fight. But I want to bring in all of these people to come volunteer, come help us. Help us save the world, because we all know that we all have to act together collectively. This is what he says. We have to act collectively. We have to take on each other's losses and take on each other's wins. We all have to work together. I mean, if it wasn't the most globalist baloney I've ever heard, he's over there in Ukraine. And by the way, he was even featured in this propaganda commercial for Ukraine's Azov battalion. Watch.
Purpose of the action.
Hey, here it is.
To appeal to
Oh, they're all
world
very
leaders.
sad. And there he is, right there within this propaganda. Now, those of you who are, maybe you're what? Okay, Azov battalion. What is that? Oh, it's just a violent militia of self-avowed Nazis in Ukraine with direct ties to the American government and the CIA. Huh. Isn't that strange? I find that a little interesting. Isn't it kind of coincidental that Thomas Crooks, the first shooter, globalist BlackRock commercial, second shooter, Ryan Routh, globalist Ukrainian commercial. Both ties to the feds. You know what's more interesting? On the website for his little group to bring volunteers to Ukraine, he was offering $1,200 a month. $1,200 a month for any volunteers to come in and fight, help, whatever. $1,200 a month. But Ryan Routh, as he said in court earlier today, has no assets. He has 2 pickup trucks. That's it. He has no assets. He has no money. So where was that $1,200 a month coming from? Who was providing that money to his little group to pay these people? Who was funding it? So yet again, here we have a guy with ties to the feds who happened to know just where to be to get eyes on Donald Trump. Wasn't public information. Somehow this guy knew that Donald Trump would be here on a spontaneous golf trip. Huh? Who'd have thunk it? I'm sure it's just a coincidence, though. And by the way, you know, it's not lost on me as much as they want to paint Donald Trump and by extension, you and me. Remember, we've heard it all up until the point all through this weekend. And by the way, you're going to continue to hear it. I'm going to show you a lot of it. I'm going to play it for you later on in this program. They didn't even take a breath. They didn't even take a pause. Hit pause on the remote control in painting all of us, Donald Trump, me, you, everyone watching this, you're the bad guy. You're the violent extremist. You're deplorable, despicable. We just played that clip last week. We just played that. Oh, they're all despicable, racist, homophobic, transphobic, threat to democracy. Remember, they didn't stop that rhetoric for 5 minutes after it got Donald Trump shot in the head. They didn't even stop for 1 second. I don't know, call me crazy, but it seems like the threat to democracy is coming from the side who keeps trying to kill off their political opposition. So, obviously, as with the last one that we still don't have answers to, we've had a report come out from Josh Hawley. It's seemingly implausible, the first one, but now we've got this new one. Who the hell told this lunatic where Donald Trump would be? Seems like a pretty short list to hear from. Secret Service? DHS? How are we going to find that information out? Well, the FBI is on it, you guys. The FBI, yes. I'm going to inform you they are going to investigate themselves again, okay? And I'm sure there's nothing that could possibly go wrong. So I want to tell you about the man in charge of that particular investigation when we return. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So look, you guys, do you like how things are going in this country? No, I know you don't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this program. Do you often feel sick to your stomach funding all of these organizations, all of these companies that are taking a portion of your money and fighting against you, fighting against the values that you believe in? If that's you and you haven't yet gone to Patriot Mobile's website and checked it out, go check them out, okay? They are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, and they are on the front lines fighting for the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, and more. And what you're going to get with them is you're going to get the same nationwide coverage as all of the big mobile providers because they operate across all 3 major networks. And they back their service with a coverage guarantee. They've got 100% US-based customer service. You need to go check them out. Odds are you're going to save money as well, and you're going to know that you will not be funding the left. Go to patriotmobile.com/Sarah. You'll get a free month when you use the offer code Sarah. That is patriotmobile.com/Sarah.
Did he have any, to your knowledge, any ties to Martin County or the Treasure Coast?
Yeah, to my knowledge, does he have any ties to Martin County? I think the answer, to my knowledge, the answer is no, I have no knowledge. I think what we're finding out is he's not from this area, which of course raises the bigger question is, how does a guy from not here get all the way to Trump International, realize that the president, former president of the United States, is golfing and is able to get a rifle in that vicinity? I think that's the question the FBI, the Secret Service are laser focused on today. Is this guy part of a conspiracy? Is he a lone gunman? If he's a lone gunman, President Trump is that much safer because we have him. But if he's part of a conspiracy, then this whole thing really takes on a very ominous tone.
That is, of course, the sheriff's office discussing Ryan Routh and the fact that he is from, as he said, from not here. So how did he get here? How did he have this information? There are a lot of questions that we have. And even this law enforcement official is like, you guys need to look into this because this seems pretty fishy. Well, the FBI is on the case. Trust us, bro. We're on the case, all right? Because they have placed Special Agent Jeffrey Veltri in charge of this entire investigation. He is the head of the FBI Miami field office. And he also, there's some interesting, pertinent details about him that I feel like you should know. I want to welcome to the show my friend Kyle Seraphin, of course, host of the Kyle Seraphin Show and recovering FBI agent, to tell us who this Jeffrey Veltri is. Kyle, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I saw the cup.
I stole your mug.
I love it.
I had to put it up here. Yeah, Jeffrey Veltri, interesting character, right? So he's the special agent in charge of the Miami field office. I was talking to somebody out of Miami today and got the inside scoop that most of the people that work there tend to be pretty pro-Trump. And then I wrote back and I said, except your SAC, the special agent in charge. And he wrote the same thing at the same time because it's a well-known fact. Veltri is a Trump hater, was a Trump hater, and actually had to be counseled prior to taking that job to take down all of his social media posts that were inflammatory rhetoric against Donald Trump. Because we wouldn't want any untoward appearances of the guy taking over the field office that actually has the president's primary residence within its what we call AOR, the area of responsibility.
Right. Yeah. So, and he also, if I'm correct, so he was the deputy assistant director of the security division at the time that the so-called Trump questionnaire was used. According to whistleblowers, they were giving this testimony that we had, all of these questionnaires that they had to fill out. And I want to actually play some of this testimony in front of Congress and then have you get into this questionnaire a little bit more. Here is the whistleblower purging conservatives clip. Watch.
Mr. Allen, your security clearance was first suspended on January 10th, 2022. Is that correct? Yes or no will suffice. And the FBI's reason behind your suspension was because it found you to have, quote, espoused conspiratorial views both orally in writing and promoted unreliable information which indicates support for the events of January 6th. Is that correct? Yes or no?
That is the language that they placed on the letter.
That's a yes, then.
So throw up one of these real quick. Throw up one of these Trump questionnaires here on the screen. Here is one of the questionnaires that apparently when this guy was, deputy assistant director of the security division, they were using this questionnaire. And if the agents responded in a way in which was pro-Trump, they were revoking their security clearances. Do I have that correct, Kyle?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more complicated than that. That wasn't just like a one and done. There were also questions about COVID vaccines and a couple of other things on there. But it was one of the very politicized sort of generic outlines that they were using to go after people's security clearances. And I know at least two people who faced that questionnaire. So I've spoken to them in person. I've met them. We knew each other after the Bureau. And so, yeah, this is something that happened, and it happened under Veltri's sort of directorship. He was the deputy assistant director, as you said. And there was another hatchet person that was working underneath there, a woman named Dina Perkins, who I actually knew at the academy. She was one of my instructors, and she was like relatively nice. She would go out and bake goods and bring stuff in, and she was kind of like a mom figure to people there who needed moms. I was 35, so I didn't need a mom, but some of them did because they were in their early 20s. And it's very strange to see these people pivot. They all kind of got that TDS, that Trump derangement syndrome, and then came after people. And I called it a purge right away when I went to people in Congress. I said, this is a purge of conservatives. And we didn't know how right we were, but we always assume because there's always paperwork. And that's what you end up finding out.
Right.
The very interesting thing is that this was done by a contractor, which was how Chris Wray kind of wiggled out of it in front of Congress. He said a contractor wrote this up, and we just became aware of it, and we were very upset. It's the same thing he said when we exposed that they were going after Catholics.
Right.
So this whole idea that the FBI director is not actually running the FBI, it is real. It's we always talk about deep state, but more accurately, it's an administrative state. The deputy director is the one who's running it, and he's woke, and we know this, and there's all kinds of evidence to prove that as well.
Yeah, and so now he's in charge of the investigation into this second would-be assassin. And I'm just wondering, Kyle, obviously this is like a totally subjective, but what you know about how bad the rot is within the FBI and this particular gentleman, Veltri, in charge, what is the likelihood that we get an investigation into this that is actually on the up and up?
So I found out that the agent who wrote the criminal complaint that actually has the subject, Routh, locked up is actually a decent guy, supposedly. Okay. He's got 20 years of experience. That means he's kind of old school FBI. He's at West Palm Beach, which is probably a nice place to hang out. And so a lot of these people take a retirement gig in their last sort of years with the Bureau. They move to the place where they want to be, where they can afford it, and they can retire there. So all things there are positive. But we're talking about the FBI, so they're not going to be transparent with us, which is probably the best thing that I've heard is that Ron DeSantis is actually going to open up his own investigation, and they're going to have FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, do a parallel. And that should have been done in Pennsylvania as well. At least they know it now. And I actually think it's a vote of no confidence against the federal government. So good for DeSantis and their people getting out of it right away and saying, expect us to be there. We can probably expect some press conferences. They're used to doing that sort of thing. The FBI is not.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. So again, this is just your opinion based on what you know. I can't. It's incomprehensible to me that there wasn't some sort of tie to the federal government when you look at what we just know already about this guy, the fact that he's tied into the Ukrainian government, the fact that he is, shooting propaganda for the Azov battalion, who is directly connected to the CIA. It just seems incomprehensible that this guy was, as they said with the last one, a lone gunman because trust us, bro.
Yeah, so some of the things that he did don't make a lot of sense if you had any experience or training. He put the gun barrel through the chain link fence, like a cyclone fence. It's not a good move if you want to keep your position there. Apparently sat there for 12 hours, so there's some dedication in that. Had some bags of tiles, which will stop bullets, but it's a weird thing to do. It's certainly not what professionals do. Had a GoPro and this kind of thing. Used an SKS and a 7.62x39 round that it shoots. Is not really a good sniper's tool. So kind of a mixed bag of capabilities. It's a lot of concerning questions, but doesn't sound like that's the A, the B, or even the C team. This is like the Kathy Griffin of like people that would go out there and try to do a shooting. But that doesn't mean that you're not seeing like systematic poking at the security apparatus that is in front of Trump. And the fact that somebody tried it again is really wild. I said at the time when Thomas Crooks was, sort of trotted out in front of us, I felt like that was kind of a dinner bell of crazy people, because nobody who's crazy wants to go out there and die on the field. They don't want to go out there and never make it to the objective. But Crooks got shots off and they hit Trump. And so that's a realistic sort of achievable or close to the goal. And you could see people going like, man, if he got close, I'm going to die doing it, but I'm going to give it a shot. And this guy didn't even die. What we found out, friends of mine that are inside the FBI in Miami said that the Secret Service engaged with a handgun. And so there was somebody that was doing the job they're supposed to do. They were expanding the protection bubble. They were out in front of the former president and noticed that barrel sticking through, and then took a very proactive means. And they should be, applauded because they started shooting. That's not common. Like most people see something and they call on the radio or they start investigating or whatever, but we're in such a high threat environment right now. They recognize the threat for what it was and probably saved some lives. So the guy runs off and so on. And it's like, he looked really calm when he was arrested, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
That bothers me.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. And I want to add to what you said there about the Secret Service agents who were like directly guarding Donald Trump. I think that obviously they handled it great, but you have to wonder how this guy got to even camp out there for 12 hours and how he was able to be just along the other side of that fence, which I'm not blaming on Donald Trump's direct detail, but I am saying, I mean, someone should have been responsible for checking that who failed. And here we see a long list of failures of just like, okay, well, is he dead? No, but that doesn't mean that people didn't do their jobs correctly.
Well, they actually addressed that in the press conference, I think it was yesterday, and it makes perfect sense. They said, well, if this was the sitting president, then we would have had people all around the golf course most likely. But because he's not, he got the smaller package. So they're explaining to us that even though this guy has already had an attempt on his life, that they still haven't bumped him up to whatever the next level is. So he has a lower tier of security. So, this is all manpower dependent. But is there a drone in the sky? I know the FBI has planes down in Miami. I've seen them. I've been to the hangar. Why aren't they up flying? If they're not doing anything else, they need to get airtime. So put them up for 4 hours at a time when he's doing golf. And they have thermal cameras and all kinds of capabilities. It's a manpower extender. It's not hard to do this stuff. The federal government has these resources. I'm sure Secret Service has similar stuff as well, but they're not being deployed. And so that tells us that maybe now, after 2 attempts, that they'll kind of step up their game. Or maybe Donald Trump needs to be doing everything by virtual. Maybe he'll just be doing Skypes from here on out, because it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's like the guy already got shot in the head. How much more does he have to go through for you guys to take these threats seriously and give him the amount of protection that he needs? God, it's crazy times, and I appreciate you being here to just kind of dissect. You're like my logical friend, because you're an investigator and you like look for proof before you want to go jump from A to Z. And I just jump straight from A to Z. So I always appreciate you being a sounding board here. And so, so you're not going to call me crazy on this one, right?
No, look, if this had happened to Obama one time, we'd still be hearing about it, and we'd be hearing about it for another year. And if somebody had taken a kayak up to the beach at Martha's Vineyard, we'd be hearing about how kayaks are the new tool of white supremacy. I'm fairly confident of that. We haven't heard anything. We heard this is the second assassination attempt in 65 days.
It's insane.
We're in all uncharted waters. This is where the monsters live on the old maps. And so I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know what it means, but I fear for the next 50 days or so as we head into November. I just don't see anybody on the other side ready to relinquish power. And they're normalizing this. And I saw people blaming Donald Trump for someone trying to assassinate him. So we're living in the upside down. There's no question about it. So you're not crazy.
Okay, good.
I'm joining you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Kyle. Yes, I finally got him over here. All right, thank you. Kyle Seraphin, of course, host of the Kyle Seraphin Show, drinking from the most fantastic mug I think I've ever seen in my life. There it is.
It's pretty
Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Yeah, I love it. All right, Kyle, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See you, Sarah.
See ya. By the way, if you want that mug, you can go to shopblazemedia.com. Go get you a Sara Gonzales Unfiltered mug, or you can go to saramerch.com and you can get this I'm Voting for the Convicted Felon mug, t-shirt, what have you. You can save 10% with promo code Sarah10. Oh, and we've got a new one coming. I think you're really going to love it. No spoilers. No spoilers, but we've got a new one coming to the collection. I was just talking to our merch guy earlier today, and it should be up soon. saramerch.com. All right, we got to take a break, and I want to bring in another guest. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Qualia Senolytics. So I don't know if you've heard of Senolytics, but it's relatively new. It was discovered like less than 10 years ago, and it's being called the biggest discovery of our time for promoting healthy aging and advancing your physical prime. And I don't know if you realize this. I'm actually 94 years old. But I use Qualia Senolytic, and I don't look it. See? Yeah, no, 94, Stephen, 94 years old, correct?
Yeah.
So this actually, it's what it does is, so as we age, everyone accumulates senescent cells in their body. And so this senolytic supplementation can actually play a huge role in enhancing how we age. You're actually going to resist aging at the cellular level when you take this. And you just take it a couple times a month, so you don't have to remember it every day. Go there. It's qualialife.com/Sarah for up to 50% off. Use code Sarah at checkout for an additional 15%. That's a great deal, you guys. Okay, by the way, they are also at GNC, if you have a GNC location near you, but you can go to qualialife.com/Sarah for an extra 15% off of your purchase. Welcome to the show. Matthew Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, here to break down, just how disgusting it is that the Democrats are constantly gaslighting us, constantly saying we're the threat to democracy, we're the violent extremist, we're this, we're that, deplorables, despicable. I mean, they didn't stop for 10 seconds after Donald Trump was shot the first time there was a would-be assassin. And now it's just like, oh, you got shot or you had another assassin. Let me tell you why that's your fault, sir. And I want to play some of these, but I want to get your quick thoughts on just all of the last, 48 hours that's transpired, 24 hours, 36, I guess, maybe, with this new would-be assassin that has all these curious ties.
Yeah, well, yesterday I decided that I was going to just have, we always say about this, like, you do a show and then something happens like majorly when you decide not to turn up. So yesterday I was like, I'm going to spend Sunday with just my family. We're going to do family things. I'm not going to look at my phone at all. And then, of course, pop home, like it all happens. And what's amazing about that is if you try and catch up on the news and you're going back, you see the reactions as they came in, and the first thing they do is like, oh no, it's they're saying it's this and it's clearly not that, and so immediately it's the denial.
You're saying possible assassination attempt,
alleged,
what the hell else
possible,
do you think
maybe
the guy had the gun in the bushes for
at Mar-a-Lago, and the president just happened
golf
to be
club.
there. And so anyway, there's that, and then you move into the blame game.
There's one.
Yeah, this is staggering.
Republicans outraged over possible assassination attempt. Yes.
You think? By the way, why
I'm just laughing so I don't yell again.
But why isn't it everyone? Why isn't it?
Why is it Republicans that are outraged?
But this is a really major point, is that the whole country should be outraged by this. Everyone should be outraged. As, by the way, we would be if someone tried to kill Kamala Harris. Like, no, I don't think there's anyone on the right that would be like, yay, that's great.
That would be terrible.
Like, no, this is horrible. This is really, really horrible. And so what you have first is you have the denial, right? You have the denial. It's a possible, which is what is going on with journalism. And then you move on to the second aspect of it, which is what you're talking about. I mean, if it's not denial, they're making up some kind of excuse and blaming Donald Trump for it. Like, really, really he was asking for it. It's akin to saying, you're wearing a short skirt.
Right.
So
you were brutally raped? You were brutally raped? Well, how short was your skirt, ma'am? It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Okay, so I want to play a clip here that demonstrates your point. We've got a couple of them. Let's see how many we get to. Here's one in particular, MSNBC. Again, blaming Donald Trump for what happened to him. It's like these just insufferable women about how it's Donald Trump's fault. Watch.
Do you expect there to be calls from within the Trump campaign to do that? Because he's going to reach out to his supporters and say, let's take this down. We do not know, again, the source of any gunshot or gunshots. We don't know who's responsible for this. The whole thing has yet to be 100% confirmed from start to finish how this all played out. But do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical?
Toning down the violence?
Of the former president.
The violence is coming from you.
Remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how
the first one?
There was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted, and it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches, but then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started. So I don't know how long this could, this moment of unity for the country where we come together and we say, I don't want any political opposition to be under threat of violence. It's not okay. Any threat of violence, we don't want. I would love for us to have a unity type moment, but I think it's probably going to be pretty fleeting, as we've seen in the past.
Throw that Politico headline up again, please. Really, we just want unity. I would hope that it would be, you wouldn't want any sort of political violence in this country. Republicans outraged over possible assassination attempt. Quote, they are going to keep trying to kill Trump. But yes, it's the left who wants the unity, Matt. They just want you. They really hope that Donald Trump tones down that rhetoric this time so he doesn't keep getting shot.
I sent you last night, a picture of my new puppy.
Yes.
Right?
And he's the cutest little puppy.
And he's cute. But what he does every now and then is he'll roll over onto his belly and he just wants his belly rubbed, right? And that's what they want. What they're talking about is they want us to say yes to everything that they want. They want us to roll over on our bellies and get out and just so we get out, oh, you good little Republicans. You guys just do exactly what we want and everything will be fine. Yep. This is what they're saying, okay? Let's be direct about this, is that they are normalizing violence. They are normalizing violence. They normalized we can go back to the mostly peaceful protests. That was them. Right. That wasn't us. We're like, hang on a second, this is wrong. Yeah. They again, it's becoming a meme, right? It's like they are exactly what they accuse us of being. Everyone in the country should be outraged by this. Everyone should be saying, listen, we need to come together. This is, and by the way, this is also their worst nightmare, right? Because people are going, hang on a minute, what is going on? There's a person, forget the fact that he's the former president, forget that this is a human being. We said it before. I cannot believe, can you believe that we're sitting there talking about a second assassination attempt within 60 odd days?
No.
What?
No.
It's just like mind-boggling to me. And by the way, this is never going to end. It's not going to end. No. It's not going to end if he gets in. It's not going to end if he doesn't get in.
No. They won't stop.
And by the way, it's not just him. It's not just him. They are normalizing violence against anyone that they disagree with. This is the point, because if you can call someone a Nazi, which we've been called Nazis, both of us, right? If you can be called a fascist, which we'd both be called fascist, it's okay to kill you because those people, the Nazis, guess what? They were evil. Fascists are evil. Right. So therefore, you can kill them.
Right. They're doing the world a favor. They're helping the country. They'll see themselves as heroes for doing so. I want to play one more particularly egregious comment. This one was from Lester Holt over there on MSNBC as well. Watch.
Today's apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail itself. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio. This weekend, there were new bomb threats in that town. Our Maggie Vespa is in Columbus, Ohio, with more.
Lester, simply put, Springfield, Ohio has been inundated by threats over the last several days, closing government buildings, schools, hospitals. Today, effectively closing a local university campus. Administrators said someone.
I don't want to hear that. The comments, the assassination comes after comments Donald Trump made about Haitian migrants that were particularly incendiary. Oh, okay. So talking about how we've got all of these illegal immigrants coming over here, breaking our laws, killing Americans, killing, in some cases, reportedly, their pets, destroying American cities, causing the cost of car insurance to skyrocket because they're coming over here and they're wrecking the cars because it turns out they don't give a shit about your norms and customs and your cars. They're just going to get in the car and drive. And so that is incendiary. And that is actually, tie the two together, okay? Why else would you say this attempted assassination comes right after Donald Trump makes these comments? Oh, okay. Well, just ignore the state of the country, and I guess maybe no one will try to kill you. All right, I want to get to a couple more before we have to go to break here. Here is Rachel Vindman, of course, Alexander Vindman's wife. You all remember Alexander Vindman's key role in the impeachment. He was the American hero who came to testify that Donald Trump was corrupt because he asked for quid pro quo from Ukraine to root out Biden's corruption. That was happening. Biden was doing very corrupt business dealings with his son in Ukraine. But Donald Trump, golly, You can't ask any questions about that corruption. So she says, no ears were harmed. Carry on with your Sunday afternoon. Sorry, you're triggered. I mean, no, I'm not. I don't care a little bit. One more follow-up. Trump has been inciting violence against his enemies for years. He douses a situation in gasoline, lights a match, and walks away claiming no responsibility. Look at what is happening in Springfield, Ohio right now, but he wants to claim he's a victim. You cannot have it both ways. You know what I see in Springfield, Ohio? A bunch of average citizens coming to their city council meetings, begging the city to do something about these illegal immigrants that are destroying the city. No, but Donald Trump is the enemy here. Donald Trump is public enemy number one.
Who's that guy? You mentioned a guy earlier on in that little section you said.
Which one?
Biden. Oh, that's it. He's meant to be the president. Where is he?
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. Could not tell you. But those of you, you guys should actually, Greg Price is a really great follow because he screenshotted Donald Trump and JD Vance's campaign, posted a bunch of receipts of Democrats' rhetoric inspired another attempt on President Trump's life. I obviously can't go through these all, but I mean, it's like Kamala Harris, threat to democracy, repeatedly. Joe Biden, it's time to put Donald Trump in a bullseye. There's one existential threat. It's Donald Trump. He's literally a threat to everything America stands for. Nancy Pelosi, Trump is a threat to our democracy. Jasmine Crockett, MAGA in general, they are threats to us domestically. I mean, should it really surprise anyone that all of these people are, that this 4 pages of just Trump needs to be shot. Trump is a threat to our democracy. Trump is an extreme danger to our democracy. Trump and his extreme right-wing followers pose an existential threat to our democracy. Hey, liberals, the calls are coming from inside the room. It's you. They're coming from inside the house. All right. Let's go ahead and we got to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want to play. Let's talk about, we see the mainstream media. We see their lies. Let's talk about pushing back on them and showing what is true, regardless of what lies they want to spew when we return. So, obviously mainstream media, the legacy media, I should say, they're constantly trying to tell Donald Trump and JD Vance, it's your fault. Everything is your fault. Is there violence in this country? It's your fault. And I want to play this pretty amazing exchange between JD Vance and Dana Bash over at CNN. Watch.
Dana, first of all, let me just respond to a couple of things that you said, but I want to start with something you said, which I think is frankly disgusting and is more appropriate for a Democratic propagandist than it is for an American journalist. There's nothing that I have said that has led to threats against these hospitals. These hospitals, the bomb threats and so forth, it's disgusting. The violence is disgusting. We condemn it. We condemn all violence.
Senator, this happened after you and President Trump were on the debate stage, said that cats and dogs were being eaten.
This is like what they want to stick to.
Go ahead and answer it. What we have said is that this town has suffered terribly under the policies of Kamala Harris. Now, you just accused me of inciting violence against the community when all that I've done is surface the complaints of my constituents, people who are suffering because of Kamala Harris's policies. Are we not allowed to talk about these problems because some psychopaths are threatening violence? We can condemn the violence on the one hand, but also talk about the terrible consequences of Kamala Harris's open border on the other hand. Now, let me just fact check a couple of other things that you said, Dana, because it's important. You said that all of these migrants are in the country legally. They're in the country through what's called temporary protective status. That is when Kamala Harris waved a magic amnesty wand, taking people and giving them legal status. That is not to say that they're here legally. That is a terrible indictment of her amnesty policies that have further opened the border and further caused
not illegal.
terrible migration.
Oh my God! But technically that's not illegal. But you said cats and dogs, and we've only seen evidence of cats. But guys, the point is that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's immigration policy has led to disastrous consequences for not just Texas, not just Arizona, not just California, Springfield, Ohio. Do you think maybe we should take a look at the policy? Do you think you can stop talking about cats and dogs and whether or not they're here on temporary protected status or officially illegally? Can we just talk about the devastating consequences of importing the third world? No, because Dana Bash has a pea brain and she didn't have two brain cells to rub together in order to be able to even critically think about it.
Well, they just don't have any journalistic integrity at all.
None.
That's the problem.
None.
Because they say, CNN, why is it most trusted name? Is that what they're thinking? The most trusted name? And unfortunately, because of their status in previous years, people still go to them. Like I remember going to a lounge in the airport, and they all have CNN on. So we have to remember, though, that this is getting to a lot of low information voters, and they go, oh yeah, I mean, what? It's CNN. They're like, oh, it's like Dan Rather. They're very, very important.
It's not true unless I see it on CNN.
It's exactly right. And people that watch The Blaze, and thank you so much for watching and subscribing to my channel and subscribing to Sarah's channel, right? Because this is a major, major problem. That they do not have any journalistic integrity. They are agents, right, of the left. And they feel emboldened because back in the day, their boss would have said, what are you doing? Showing bias like that. We have to be in the middle. There's nobody watching the store. In fact, well, there is. They actually completely condone it, and they want another 4 years of the left.
Right. Which, to that point, I've been waiting to see what comes out about this, but there was an ABC News whistleblower who says that they've signed an affidavit saying that Kamala Harris's campaign dictated the questions of the debate. And so obviously had the questions beforehand, and that they have video proof of this happening. And I'm like, release the proof right freaking now. Don't wait until October. We need to see this right freaking now, because every single person in America needs to see just how disgusting the incestuous relationship is between the Democrats in power and the legacy media. And I mean, there's no gap. They're just all one.
No, we are genuinely. I was driving along today. I was driving along today, and I was like, we're in a third world country right now. Like it's a banana republic. It is a disaster what is going on in America. And there's very few voices, and even the voices outside that are trying to say, hey, listen, this is the truth. This is really what's going on, are being silenced. They're being pushed out. So thank God for Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if we didn't have him?
No. We wouldn't know 90% of the stuff that we know now, thanks to him. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, before we go, make sure that you subscribe to Matthew Marsden's YouTube channel. You mentioned it earlier. How can they find it?
Matthew D. Marsden. Just go across and click subscribe. Yes.
Matthew D. Marsden. He's British, so he has to be so fancy with his middle initial. Whatever. Matthew D. Marsden. Just kidding. Make sure that you go follow his YouTube channel, subscribe. He's got awesome content there. And make sure you catch us here tomorrow through the rest of the week. We'll be giving you the latest on this. We'll see you then.